have everything checked, the chances of approval is higher. But temporary residence, that is where we have the work permit, the visitor visa, the study, the LMIA, all of that in between. There's a lot of discretionary power. Officers can look at, they look at so many factors. They look at your country of origin, what's your purpose of coming. A big chunk of the reasons they look at is your ties back home. From IRCC's word, from their word, visa officers, they have few minutes with each application. So they have between, let's say 10 to 15 minutes with each applications because they have to handle hundreds in a day. They don't have that time. They want to see your explanation well laid out in their front. And so these are some, let me go back to the topics. Understanding why visa gets refused. Sometimes some reasons we know, some reasons we don't even know. And that, again, that is why I'm saying the visa officer's discretion. I don't want us to get, oh, my screen stopped. I don't want us to get discouraged if you find that, okay, even with submitting the best applications, the visa officer still refused my application. I want us to leave this session today with that mindset of, even if you refuse my application, I am still going to reapply. But now the reapplication would now depend on what are you going back with? Are you going back with the same thing? When there's a refusal, clients come, we always want that, oh, let me submit immediately. No. Even I have everything. I paid my tuition, I have a lot of funds, I have everything ready. So why did the visa officer refuse me? With that, I usually tell people, take time, get the GCMS notes, review it. Very important. It's important to have that GCMS. When you have the GCMS, you have an argument to build on. You have something to tell the visa officer. You have something to reply back to them that, oh, but I did this, I submitted this, I had all this. So why is my application still being refused? But without a GCMS note, you're just walking in the dark. You don't even know you don't know how to go about it. You don't know the reason why the officer refused the application. Another thing to improve your chances of approval is you can mute this person. Another thing to increase your approval chances is so and this is going for people that are applying on visitor visa, study, work. These three big ones have an explanation letter, and that is letter of explanation, that is the SOP, that is the study plan, whatever we call it, they're all the same thing. It is you listing out, it is you explaining to the officer what each document you have submitted is doing for this application. So for example, I will go with the visitor visa. Visitor visa, you're coming for a visit, you're coming for a conference, write an explanation letter to them. And in that explanation letter, touch on every document you have submitted. In this explanation, I'm coming to visit my friend. Build a relationship with that friend. Let the officer see, okay, probably maybe previous WhatsApp chats. Let the officer see old pictures. Then they understand. Again, it is not a physical interview. It is by whatever documents you submit that the officer would build their case on. If it's a study permit, if it's a study visa you're applying for, who is your sponsor? What is your relationship with your sponsor? What are your plans when you come back to Nigeria? I have seen a student prepare a study plan of 10 pages. Kudos to that student. But trust me, on 101%, the officer is not going to look at that application. It came back with a refusal. The officer is not going to look at it. So I tell people, when it comes to Canadian application, the less, the better. Less, but quality. So you don't want to write 10 pages and I came and I got the unwavering support. I was able to hone my skills. You know all those language. We know them. The officer is not interested. Brief, brief, brief. go straight to the point. And I tell people I'm from a culture where we talk a lot, we like to explain, and then I'm like, go straight to the point. Like, tell me, what do you want? Like, so I wanted to, I need, no, go straight to the point. So let me give you an example. An example is you want to apply for a study permit. I have experience in mass communication. I have 3 years experience in banking. I have my business in this. I have whatever in this. I want to come and study this. This is why I want to come and study. This is my funds. This is the amount I have. And this is where my source of fund is coming from. And this is where the continuity of the fund is coming from. If you're being sponsored by yourself, talk about your work experience. I have so and so experience working here. And from this experience, I've been able to gather these funds. And so this is where I'm getting this money from. And in the absence that I myself, as a self-sponsor, will be in Canada, this is where this other source of fund for my next year, if you're coming for a 2-year program, this is where the other source of fund is going to come from. If you're being sponsored by a parent, a spouse, an uncle, a relative, an auntie, you explain. They can also write a letter of explanation for you. They can also explain in the letter that, oh, this is my brother, this is my sister, this is my niece, this is the relationship we have built. I want to sponsor this education, and I am going to continue sponsoring this education. So most of all, I find a little bit challenged when we have a third party sponsor. That third party might feel a little bit uncomfortable to share some of their documents with you. Maybe their CAC, their employment letter, their pay stub. You need all this to convince the officer. So those are some of the things we can use to improve our chances. Did I touch on common mistakes? Common mistakes, your SOP should not be too lengthy. Keep it short and direct. Your explaining details, proof of funds, where your source of funds is coming. It's not all about you having 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, 100 million in your bank account without any explainable source of income. They want to see where that money is coming from. And they also want to understand the continuity. If you're being invited by somebody, they want to see that you already have an established relationship with that person. You've been in communication with that person for the past 4, 5, 3 years. And why is this particular visit very, very quote unquote important to you? Have you traveled before? Although there's a federal court case approval that you don't need a travel history to come to Canada. Yes, I got a visa approval today without a travel history. But then she has strong ties in Nigeria, and she has a very, very strong, genuine intention to visit Canada. So again, without how you don't need to have that travel history, but you have to show that what you're living in your back home in your home country. Damilala, can you stop writing on the screen? Thank you. You want to show that what you have back home it far outweighs and is far more important than what you're coming to do in Canada. You want to show it as if, oh, Canada, I just want to come in, do what I have to do and check back outside and go back to my home country. For work permit, if you have a job offer, you want to show that even after gaining this particular job experience, if you're granted this visa to come into the country, you're going to take that skill, that knowledge, that experience, that connection, you're taking it back home to improve on your own business or job in your home country. Again, I usually emphasize on temporary residence. You want to spend a little more time explaining the advantage and what you're going to do after your temporary visit in Canada. You always want to establish that points blank clear that, you know what, after my study, this is what I'm going to do. Make it very clear. After my visit, this is what I'm going to do. Or even after my visit, I have a conference I have to do back home. I have an important thing I have to do back home. There's so many, they have other travels that I have to do back home. Or I have a visa for another country that after my visit in Canada, I'm taking the next flight to maybe to China or Tanzania or wherever again. So Canada is not the end of it. So I think I touched on that topic. Why do visa Canadian visa applications get refused. Well, like I said, let me adjust this up a little bit. Okay. Incomplete or incorrect documentation, sometimes it happens. We might miss some informations. Again, okay, I'm sharing my screen. So again, sometimes you might find out that when you're completing the form, you might miss some vital informations, your employment, your travel history. What have you done before? Sometimes you might miss the year or the month or something. You want to make sure you have that. Again, I have seen cases where we've had a visa refusal and the client was now providing more information to an entirely new side of her that I didn't even know. And I'm like, why didn't you bring this in the first application? Like, well, I thought all they needed was just my work experience. They didn't need to know that I have a business. So sometimes you want to put both of them. Tell Canada about, see Canada has Canadian visa application as a tell it all. No information is not important. Tell them everything about you. It might be too much to put in 3, 4, 5 pages. And again, that is a skill that you have to learn to narrow it down to what they want to hear. All the preliminary, sometimes we do visa application reviews for DIY. You want to do it yourself, you come back to us, we can help you review. So I find that so many in the beginning parts, for you to grab the officer's attention, you're already saying stories that the officer doesn't need. And so he looks at the story and like, okay, this is generic thing. They went to just generate this explanation and then they move to the next thing. Your first two, three, four sentence should catch their attention. Brief, 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 one sentence, one sentence. I have this is where I'm going, this is what I want to do, this is my goal, this is my objective, this is what I want to get from coming to Canada. Straight, direct to the point. As a matter of fact, for study plan, for letter of explanation should not even be more than 1 page. If you're talking 2 page, then maybe something very, very important. Study plan for coming to Canada for work permit should not exceed more than between 3 to 5 pages. You're good. The less, the easier for you to catch their attention. Because when an officer is looking at all the compiled pages and he's seeing 30, 40, 50 pages, I'm like, okay, I still have 70, 60 applications to handle. How am I going to read these pages? But if you scroll down and see that, okay, this study plan is just 2 page, they can take their time and read it. You understand? So keep it very simple. Another big information, my home country, my country of birth is Nigeria. So I see a lot of Nigerian applications. We we lack having consistency in our information. You've applied to Canada for visitor visa before, and then you switch to study, and then you want to go to express entry. Canada keeps all this record. Please let us have consistency in whatever information we are given. Again, I say it all the time, there is no excuse for ignorance. I didn't know. My brother filled it. My auntie filled it. My agent filled it. They don't even want to hear that my agent filled it because that is like a misrepresentation 5 years back. They don't want to hear that. Whatever information you're feeling, even using the service of an immigration lawyer and immigration consultant, you as the applicant are still responsible for whatever information we give. Again, going back to my practice, that is why most of the time I give the clients the forms to fill. It might be in another simplified form, easier for them to fill. But I want you to tell me what you're doing. I want you to tell me your work experience. I don't want to guess. Guess what? The reason is that probably maybe when you did the visitor visa, you said you were a fish farmer. And then because you want to come for study, and then you said that, okay, you're a transporter. And then when it's time for express entry, you come back again and you switch to, oh, I'm a caregiver. You see, with all of that, when Canada permanent residence application is a big thing, is a very, very big thing. I tell people Before you put in an express entry profile application, before you put in any provincial nomination application, go back to whatever you have filled in your temporary residence application, whatever you filled in your study permit, whatever you filled in your work permit, whatever you filled in your visitor visa, and see that there is consistency. Before, yes, Canada was lenient. They were not looking at all of those things. They just picked one or two, maybe when they're doing their quality assurance review to see if they did the right thing or not, and just visit some applications back. But now it looks like a pattern. They are going back to what you filled and seeing if there's any inconsistency there. So if you've mentioned that you're a fish farmer, you're a transporter, and now you're a caregiver, you want to make sure that the ages, the dates are consistent. That is there's no discrepancies there. Maybe some occupations are overlapping. And yes, it's possible. We have people doing two, three jobs at the same time. Some people do day jobs, some people do night job. It might be different profession. You want to explain that. I tell people with Canadian application, explain yourself before the officer raises that concern. If you've had a misrepresentation before, explain yourself. It's not that bad not to explain. It's better for you to explain than for the officer to now send you that PFL. That's what happened. Then you know that a whole team, a whole department is sitting on your application. And before they send that PFL, most of the time they are very, very sure of what they're saying. So again, if you've had a misrepresentation, maybe in the past you did not know that there were some people called Canadian immigration consultant, there were people called immigration lawyers, and you use a friend of a friend that introduces you to an agent. Mention all of that. Oh, in the past, out of ignorance, I didn't know this person filled this form for me, and give an excuse rather than for them to now raise it for you. Past immigration violation, if you've had a ban, come out clean, explain to them, oh, I'm sorry, I've had a ban before. I've waited my 5 years, and in that 5 years, I've been able to do so and so and so together. And you also present your police clearance. I have a clean police clearance result. I don't have any um I don't have any criminal case against me and all of that. So these are some of the things you use that even when you get the refusal, these are some explanations to overcome them. Now, the next step will be, let me see if I'm sharing my screen. Let me see. Okay. Let me adjust my screen a little bit. Okay. So the next step is the next slide will be how to handle the refusal. So the refusal is here. Review the refusal letter. Refusal letters are usually generic. Usually, for example, you don't meet your neighbor, your purpose of visit is not consistent with the temporary stay, your assets and financial situation, you have significant ties to Canada, so many reasons. And this is where GCMS notes comes in. GCMS note is very important. I tell people, if you have to wait 2, 3, 4 months to get the GCMS notes, please do. I have had cases that I did not wait for the GCMS notes, yes, because based on experience and because I know the file from the beginning, I could easily pinpoint the error and we went with that. But if you're not sure, most times you wait for GCMS now. But that particular case, I've done a couple, maybe 2 or 3 applications that I didn't even wait for GCMS now. We did what we had to do, reapply, and we got the approval. I understood the case back and forth, like day and night. I understood what was about. I understood what was missing. That was why I could confidently go back with a reapplication without a GCMS note. But GCMS note is very, very important. It gives you an insight into what the officer is thinking. I will be sharing some GCMS notes with you to see how detailed they go with those forms. Reapplying. No points going back with the same thing over and over. For each application that you're reapplying, ensure that you're introducing new information to the visa officer. So if the visa officer has said that insufficient fund, the next application should have more funds, more explanation. If the officer has said your visit is not consistent with a temporary stay, let them know why it is consistent with a temporary stay, why you're visiting. Repeat it to them again in case they don't know. In case probably maybe that particular officer was busy, you want to give them 101 reasons for that refusal. Again, yes, you can challenge them in federal court, but federal court we keep it for the very, very obvious, and then you don't want to wait that time. Although I heard they've reduced the time, wait time to like 6 months, but then you don't want to wait for that long. So I would say reapply, but reapply with something better than the previous one. Submitting an appeal, and sometimes we call it reconsideration. Reconsideration is when there is reconsideration is when there is an obvious error from the officer. So again, another reconsideration that I have had is when we made full tuition payments, we made full GCMS and full GIC payments, there was sufficient money in the bank statement, and the officer still said specifically in the GCMS note that it doesn't think that the client has sufficient amount to pay their tuition fee. It did not mention that we don't think that you have sufficient assets and financials. This refusal actually came back with, we don't think you have sufficient funds to pay your tuition fee. And I can look it up for you to show you if I have the time. So because the officer mentioned you don't have sufficient funds to pay your tuition fee, whereas we had already paid the full tuition fee, the program is a 1-year program. So I sat down and I reviewed the application again. I'm like, what does the officer mean by we don't have the funds to pay? We already submitted the receipt for the full tuition. We got the confirmation from the school. They already did GCMS notes, I mean GIC. They have sufficient fund in their own account, not a third party account. So this was clearly an officer's error, and we requested a reconsideration. Now, when you're going for reconsideration, you want to be as polite and as humble as possible. It's not going to be the gra when I've submitted this, why didn't you see it? You want to be as, again, reconsideration should not be more than 1 page, 2 page. This is the reason why I feel that maybe you omitted this particular document. If you look at page 5 of the document I submitted the full tuition. My program is a 1 year, so I don't have a spotlight. Okay, I don't have another tuition fee to pay aside the one I have paid. See, I am attaching the receipt again to you to see that I have made the payment. I am attaching my admission offer again for you to confirm that it is actually a 1-year program. When we listed all of this to the visa officer, in less than 24 hours, the refusal was changed to an approval. I was happy, client was happy. Again, coming back to visa's discretion, do they respond to reconsideration all the time? No. Are they obliged to respond to it? No. It is again at the officer's discretion. So if the officer, probably maybe you sent it on a particular day and the officer is on a leave, or the officer is preparing to log off for the day, he's not going to look at it. Or the officer just feels that, oh, I've been an immigration officer for visa officer for 5 years, 2 years, whatever judgment I pass on this application, that is my feeling. I'm not going to change my decision. They just ignore. So again, I am encouraging us, as much as we say all this online, we say it on social media, you can ask for reconsideration, you can ask for appeal. I don't want us to abuse it. Even as lawyers, even as immigration consultants, we don't do it all the time, because then it becomes, okay, they're coming with reconsideration, they're going to just ignore. But when the reason is very, very obvious, yes, I say go for reconsideration. Even going for reconsideration, you might want to wait a little bit till you have the GCMS notes. So when the GCMS note is saying something off of what you submitted, Like a GCMS note came back and said that we did not establish that the parents of the applicants, the minor kids, was a full-time student. And so we went back with a reconsideration that we submitted the admission offer, we submitted the study permit, we submitted the work permit, we submitted the enrollment letter, we submitted the transcript, we submitted the letter from the school. And then we quoted the section of the law where it stated that this is how to prove full-time studies. What more really does the officer want? So sometimes when you have very obvious reasons like that, you submit a reconsideration. Sometimes I just tell myself it's not what it's not what the reconsideration, just go for a reapplication. If I see one, if I notice even a little pinch of error, as minute as it might be, concerned that yeah, this officer was right. Yeah, we didn't have this. I would just go for a reapplication. It saves everybody the headache. Sometimes some GCMS notes will come back with an obvious error. You see it, but because you don't have that energy, you don't want to argue with them. You just let it be. Go back with a reapplication. In your reapplication, you state it there that this GCMS note stated that I did not include this. I include it, but I'm including it again for you to see. That could be what would catch the officer's attention that, okay, this person has tried. Let's give the approval. Gather supporting documents. They strengthen weak areas of your previous applications. So some people might not have birth certificates. Get your affidavits, get your letter from your parents, that affidavit from your parents that this is what you have, this is what you have. Some people might be running an online business and they don't even have a CAC. If you don't have a CAC, well, it's time for you to consider that. But then again, if you don't have and you want to submit the application, show them your Instagram page, show them your Facebook page. Let them see that, oh, the business is actually active. Let them see your WhatsApp communication with your clients, sending, receiving money, payment. Let them see bank statement showing that this money was submitted to you. I would highly encourage that if you don't have like a business registration, go and do it if it doesn't save you so much. Include it and explain that, oh, you did not even know that you needed to get all of that until when you started doing this application. And so you've been in the business for 5 years. This is your social media page. This is your website. This is your storefront that you're selling, whatever you're selling. This is a picture of your shop. And so, but now you just recently got your business registration and you're attaching also your tax filing. It explains to them. Write a strong letter of explanation. Strong does not mean too many pages. You can write a 2-page letter of explanation that far outweighs a 10-page unwavering support on my skill and all those explanation that we don't need. There's so many things they'll just stick out. So write your 10 pages, explain yourself, read it yourself, and then start cutting out what you don't need. There's so many things that you'll find out that you might not need. Start cutting out irrelevant information. You ask yourself, this sentence, does it have any use for this application? Is it useful? If it's useful, how can I merge 3 or 4 sentences to one? How can I compress this information to one? Again, they don't have that time. We're not the only clients they have. We're not the only applications they have. People are sending in applications every day, per second, per minute, per hour. So they are receiving thousands and thousands of applications. And they have probably maybe, I don't know how they work in the office, maybe they have 8 hours, 9 hours. So imagine 8 hours for 150 applications and they have to submit it. They have their team lead, they're going to submit it. So their team lead also have the manager they have to report to. So how do they do 150 applications when one person is already giving them 10 pages, 6 pages, 5 pages of explanation? You want to keep it short, simple, straight to the point. That is what I say with my letter of explanation. Make it short, simple, straightforward to the information, and you're good. Again, the last one will be honest and transparent. If you've had some issues in the past with your immigration application that you don't know, please mention it. Have like a small subheading from, or you can just name it whatever you feel comfortable naming it, previous application explanation, or whatever you want to name it. Explain yourself. You can even explain yourself in bullet points. Number one, I applied and I made a mistake here, here, here. I did this. It was out of ignorance. Mention all of that. You don't want them to be the one coming back. If Canada is coming back to ask you questions, just know you're in for it because they already have their evidence. They searched everywhere. They are very sure that this argument that they want to go into, they are very well on the right side. So it is now for you to now, but if you've explained in your letter of explanation and the officer now finds out something, then they go back. And even if you now go to a federal court case, you have a case there because it's like, oh, these applicants already explained themselves. I also see a lot of resistance from some of our clients. I know for financial reasons, we don't always want to go to federal court case. It could be the one to save us sometimes because when you've done everything and everything, you've applied three, four, five times, and it's still not coming, and you have used a competent professional to help you get it, and everything is looking right, but the officer just doesn't want to approve. Sometimes going to the federal courts might be just the answer to it. So now a little bit about the federal courts process works. This is just like a brief of how it works. Like you express your intention, I want to go to a court, I want to argue this case. Your lawyers reach out to the federal court reach out to the immigrant IRCC. IRCC notifies the particular visa officer that handles that application. They said, okay, so they look at the application. Okay, fine, let's go to court. But before the court date, there will be something in between. In between will be your lawyer and their own lawyer might have a meeting. Let us sit down together. Let us look at this application. Is this something we can discuss out of court? So you might find out you might not even get to the actual court before the application will get approved. The officer might be like, okay, yeah, I noticed all about this. Okay, so it's not worth us going to court. We can just, at mediation stage, we can just finalize this application. But if the officer feels that, yes, I know what I submitted. Sometimes in your profession, some people might not really want to accept they made a mistake, or maybe there's an error or something, and they're so convinced that, oh, I did the right thing. I know that this applicant does not deserve this approval, so, and that is why I refused it. I have my reasons, I stated my reason. Yeah, let's meet in court. So not everybody is going to accept the easy way. Sometimes you might have to just get to the courts, do the argument. If you're very, very sure and you're working with a good lawyer, it can get granted, and then it's been processed by another officer that gets it approved. So that is what I have to say. So steps to undo: review your refusal letter, request a GCMS note. While you're requesting your GCMS note, start thinking, what did I miss? What do I think that this generic refusal letter is pointing me to? If you're talking about assets, is there something else I need to do about this asset? Is there something in my mind I am suspecting that, oh, I think because I didn't submit this, or maybe I think because I didn't include this is why. Seek professional advice. You see, the 1 hour consultation for your visa refusal management will save you a whole lot. Right from the consultation, we're looking at it, we're reviewing it, we're helping you to ask questions that would spark different thoughts in your mind that, okay, maybe because I didn't add this, okay, maybe because I need to do this. Some people might have to wait for another academic session to gather the funds, to increase their funds, to do the GIC, to improve that application, to make it stronger for the next application submission. Letter of explanation, I touched on it. It doesn't have to be long to make it strong. You can prepare a very strong 2-page, 3-page letter of explanation, but you're going straight to the point. You're going straight to the point. No no unnecessary talks on I did this, I did that. Tell them what you want, what you have, what you plan to do, how you plan to execute what you have to do, and what are your plans after executing what you came to do in Canada. After your studies, what are your plans? Your plan should always be after your studies, you're going back home to implement your what you've learned. So always build strong ties to your home country. Things to avoid. I think the first one, I don't even need to talk too much on it. Submitting fake or inconsistent document, please don't do it with Canada. Please don't. That's the only thing I can say. Don't. The 5 years outbreak is a lot. In 5 years, so many things can happen. So you don't want that. There's so many clients I advise that if you don't have these funds, you can wait a little more time. You can wait to gather your application. A particular client came and we've been together since 2023. He landed Canada in this January 2025. So he has had two previous refusals, and I told him, you know what, you need to do something better. So your proof of funds, you need to work on it genuinely by yourself. Your tuition fee, you need to work on it genuinely by yourself. In fact, he struggled so much with his tuition deposit because he had to pay probably 3, 4 times to make the deposit, but he made the full tuition deposit. He made the full tuition deposit. He worked on his employment. He worked on so many things. And in between that, while he was waiting, while he was deferring his admission, changing schools and all of that, Canada was also changing their policies. The GCMS went from 10,000 increased to 20,000, and it was getting frustrated in between. And we're looking at, okay, how do we manage things for you to be able to submit the application? So sometimes I tell people, if you have to wait a couple months, 1 year to get it right, it's better than submitting fake documents, even when you have a ban, a 5 year ban. Even after the 5 year ban, it takes a lot to finally get a visa approval. It takes a lot. Not demonstrating strong ties to your home country, you need to show that you have something. And so for some of my easygoing, gentle people, oh, I just finished school, I just had my baby, I'm not working, it's my husband's account I'm using, I'm not doing anything. You have to show that you're doing something. So if you're not doing anything in Nigeria, definitely if you come to Canada or if you're not doing anything where you are, your country you're in, definitely when you come to Canada, you won't want to leave because nothing is compelling you to go back home. You don't have the job there. You don't have the family there you don't have a serious family there. So you want to show them that I have something doing back home. I have kids back home. My husband is there. My family is there. My community is there. I'm an active church member. I'm an active mosque member. I'm an active third organization member. I'm doing something important. My community, my online community, my local community, I am doing something there. My children's school, I'm part of the PTA. You want to show them you're doing something tangible to go back home. Overlooking financial requirements. So, overlooking financial requirements would be just considering your own tuition fee, your own money here, whatever you have to pay, but not considering that, okay, you're a family of four and the exact amount in your bank statement is just the money for your tuition and for your living expense. So the officer is thinking, what's going to happen to the other people back home? Are they going to keep their mouth shut and wait for you to study? They're not going to eat, they're not going to feed, they're not going to do anything. You want to show that, oh, I have excess funds for the other people back home to live on till I get back. Skipping the biometrics or medicals. Medicals is not compulsory sometimes in your first application. You can include it in your first application or you wait for IRCC to request. So it's possible you might skip it. But biometrics, without the biometrics, the application process cannot start. So even when you submit your application, and you go back to your client your portal to look at it, you will see that your biometrics is not there. It's until when you complete the biometrics, you submit your biometrics, IRCC receives your biometrics, that is when the application journey starts. So you need the biometrics, not too much explanation. Rushing through your application without double checking, yes. My practice is once every application is ready, I give it 48 hours. In that 48 hours, I am going back. I'm going back to check. So what did I discuss with the client? What did we? I'm looking through every email. I'm looking through every conversation. I'm looking through everything they submitted. Is this useful? Do I need to put it? Is there a way I can include this line? Because going back to look at it will give you that time to objectively think through. To us, completing the application as applicants, we feel that this is the best. Once the officer sees my application, this is an approval. But if you put yourselves on the other side, on the side of being the visa officer, then you will start looking critically at that your application. And you'll be like, okay, you told me you have 17 million, but your salary is 100,000. 100,000 times 12 months, that's 1.2 million. So how did you accumulate that 17 million? And you have only 3 or 4 years work experience, then you start thinking that what I submitted, does it even make sense? Did I include this document? Did I not include this? Can I add something else to it? So don't be too much in a rush to submit the application. I want you to read through your letter of explanation. Look at your document. Did you submit everything? Did you compress them well? Sometimes you find out that you upload the document, you go back and check, and you see that it's something different that you actually saved it with. So again, you want to take your time to look through what you're submitting. Real life scenarios, visas refuse, solution, additional funds and strong letter of explanation. It's always that straightforward. Additional financial documents, it's not only increasing the funds in your account, it is also detailing, explaining the source of that funds. So we have seen from experience that Canada just does not want your proof of funds that okay, this is you have 15 million. Where is that money coming from? Where is the source of that money? If somebody is sponsoring you, where are they getting that money to support you? And what is going to be like the continuity of that money? So before we come back to question and answers, I will share with you a sample of GCMS notes so that we can just see what's, let me see. No, let me see. Yes, let me share this one. Okay, I don't know if you can see my screen. I'll try to make sure you can. Um, can you see my screen? Let's see. Okay, yes, thank you. So I tried to cover some parts of the. So this was a recent one. So you're applying for this, you have this. I see a lot of us making mistakes with not declaring our refusals. That, oh, maybe if I declare my refusals, the visa officer is not going to approve it. Please declare your approval, declare the date and the month and the year. In few cases, if you don't remember the dates, because yes, it's not like a good date that we always want to remember, at least try and remember the year, try and remember the months and mention it there. I remember it is around, if you don't even know the month, explain it there. US visa refusal, UK visa, Schengen visa refusal 2021. I unfortunately cannot remember the dates and the month, but I'm very certain it is 2023. The officer cannot come back and say that you misrepresented because you explained to them or you mentioned that, "Oh, I can't even find the letter, but I'm very certain it is 2023. Explain your situation. Don't always wait for them to come back. So there is no personal bank statement for the client on file because this person is using a third party. Proof of funds from insufficient funds to establish ownership. No evidence proof as sole access to. This client currently is inactive based on search on Nigerian Corporate Affairs Commission website. So again, yes, I have my CAC. We go online to check the CAC is inactive. So the visa officer will look at it that, oh, you have a business, you're running a business, you're making money, but you're not paying your tax. So even in your home country, you are not compliant and you want to come to Canada. So definitely it's that same behavior you're bringing to Canada. So again, it's not all about having the CAC. Is your CAC active? Are you paying your tax? For how long have you been in the business? If you say that you've been in the business for 2 years and your CAC is, CAC on the website will show you the date of creation. What is the explanation? So again, this is a real life GCMS note. The source of fund is poorly documented and there is insufficient evidence provided showing how applicant came to accumulate life savings. So again, it's not that about having 20 million, 30 million, 40 million in your account. How did you make that money? How did you accumulate that? I see people having US dollars accounts and the bank statement is just 1 month, 2 months, and they just have 20 US dollars in their bank accounts. How did you get that $20,000 in your account? This is another one. Tuition fees paid $3,000. GIC noted on file. Proof of funds from principal applicants. No birth certificate provided. Family link could not be established. And so when you see some people, they'll be like, I didn't know that I needed pictures. But then what kind of pictures do you include? You need to link that connection. Make sure that, okay, I'm saying that this person is my father. I'm saying that this person is my mother. How would the officer know? The officer is not, yes, I know there's AI now, but the officer will not just assume for us. You have to show documents for them to believe that, yeah, this person is actually my father. Include the birth certificate. And in this application, this person does not have a birth certificate. And so they had to go and do an affidavit of birth. And then the parents who had to write a letter that, yes, they are the true parents of this person and all that explanation. For simple reasons, this was why the application was refused. Again, there is no evidence provided showing how principal applicant came to accumulate such funds. They see a lot of large sums all the time. They see money from investment, they see money from, and they also notice that pattern. Where it's only when we are planning to submit an application that you see people depositing 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, 10 million. And then when you go back and look 6 months, 7 months before, then you don't have that. So it raises that question that, are you getting that money because of this particular application? And then this is the last GCMS we'll look at. This is a very interesting one, this because they said there is limited evidence to demonstrate ties that will compel the applicant to return to their home country or country of residence. Therefore, I am not satisfied that the purpose of their intended stay is justified and their reason to visit Canada is temporary. You need to demonstrate ties. And that demonstrating ties is not by writing a lot of episodes, stories, explanation. No, they want document, they want evidence. Evidence, evidence. Once you have an evidence, short explanation, evidence, short explanation, evidence, short explanation, you save yourself and you also help the officer to make a good decision on your application. I've reviewed the financial document provided. I'm not satisfied that the funds applicant, again, this is it. The applicants, okay, I think this was a visitor visa. For all this application, taking the applicant's plan of study into account, the documentation provided in support of the applicant's financial does not demonstrate that funds will be sufficient or available. So this person is self-sponsoring. And so self-sponsoring, they want to see that if you that you're sponsoring your application, you're now moving to Canada, how are you going to pay for the other years? How are you going to pay for maybe your second year, your second term? You want to show them that yes, even though I'm going to be in Canada, I have this particular amount saved that will be sufficient enough for my second year and for my GCM and for my GIC. I have all this ready. Or for my second year, I'm going to be supported by my spouse. I'm going to be supported by my family, my brother, my sister, whoever is going to be. And then they write a letter to support that. And then you also show ties that okay, after my studies, I'm even coming back to my home country. I have my current job is allowing me to leave and all of that. So these are some of I'm sharing this so that we see when we ask documents from clients, it's not because we want BlueFern wants to see we want to see all your information of your life. It's from examples like this. It's from GCMS note like this that guides us that, okay, the next application, I'm going to see documents A, B, C, and D, and E, and even F before we proceed with the application. So I think we're right on time. We're behind time. It's 2:01 already. Do you have any questions for me? And we can quickly jump. Oh, someone said screen not visible. Really? Okay, let me share again. Did you get to see the screen? Can you see now, Kola? Everything you're able to get the gist of what I was explaining. So, oh, okay, maybe this is even network from your side. This could be network issues from your side. So if anybody has any question, let me know so that we can quickly go through it. You can unmute yourself, ask the question. You can type your questions and then I'll read it out. Any question? Okay. Let me see. Okay, then, so if in the absence of nobody having any questions to ask or wanting to ask anything, I would say thank you for joining this session. I really appreciate